Picture a slutty woman, heavy makeup, revealing clothing, showing her boobs, shaking her ass, acting really flirtatious with every man, highly available for sex. Everything about her screams slutty. She is the opposite of how you want your daughter to turn out. Now, consciously, most men know that this is not the kind of woman that you want to be in a relationship with, and you certainly don't want your daughter to turn out this way. That's why you stay away from those women. Even though we don't see these women as relationship material, there's still an undeniable appeal about these women, and we can't help but pay attention to them. If you're smart, you know not to act upon those feelings because you know they're going to be troubling. But why do you feel that way? Why is it that rationally you want to be with a good woman, but there's still something alluring and enticing about promiscuous women? How do we explain this dichotomy, this cognitive dissonance? First, understand that men have two reproductive instincts, a primary instinct and a secondary instinct. What is the primary instinct? In order to understand how this came about, you first need to understand some basic biology. So here we go. There are very few creatures on the planet in which gametes are the same size because there's an unstable equilibrium when gametes are equal size. What that means is that any creatures that have two sexes will tend to have one sex with small mobile gametes and other sex with large immobile gametes. Once you have this dynamic, you have an unequal investment from the parents in those gametes. Small mobile gametes are not worth investing in, but large immobile gametes are worth being choosy over because they contain a greater investment. From an evolutionary perspective, every time we have a creature that evolved in which there is an asymmetrical of parental investment in the offspring, we get other things evolved as a consequence, like selectiveness. It's natural for a creature with larger gametes to be more selective. It's natural for a creature that gets pregnant to be more selective. So when it comes to humans, it's natural for women to be more selective in terms of choosing a partner because there is a greater parental investment. This is why women have strong instinct to secure a commitment before sleeping with a man, because if you have children with a man who does not commit to you, then who's going to protect you? Who's going to provide for your children? On top of that, pregnancy is going to take a toll on your body and it's going to reduce your desirability in the eyes of other men. There's less likelihood of you finding a partner in the future. So again, because of this greater parental investment, women are more selective, and therefore they are the gender that's more in demand. They get to set the criteria in which sex is had. So if women's instinct is to secure a commitment before sleeping with a man, after generations and generations of this arrangement, men have adapted to this, and that became the primary method of reproduction, which is through committed monogamy. And evolution has positively selected for men who accepted this methodology. This is why men have strong paternal instinct. Men want to be fathers. We have very strong instinct to provide and protect. We want to invest in our children. Now, even though evolution has positively selected for men to have their primary method of reproduction through committed monogamy, it didn't make sense to completely remove all the other instincts because it's good to have a backup plan in case your primary strategy is failing. This is when the secondary instinct comes in. Just by looking at the sheer number of sperms we produce, as a man, it's clear that one of our reproductive instincts is to play the numbers game. If you want your gene to survive and pass on to the next generation, you need to be having as much sex as possible, spread your seeds as much as possible, and hope that some of your children will survive. Enter the promiscuous woman. Oh boy, she's smiling at you, she's flirting with you, she's showing a lot of skin.
You're hot.
At this point, your biology recognizes this as an opportunity to reproduce with essentially zero commitment. That's huge, right? Because normally you would have to work very hard and commit to a woman before you can reproduce. So to be able to pass on your genes with zero commitment, that's like winning the evolutionary lottery. So if the opportunities arise, and if that's what you want, you can pass on your genes to 1,000 promiscuous women without committing to any one of them. Although you won't be able to provide for all of them, on the balance of it, you're going to be producing so many offsprings that a lot of them are going to survive. From an evolutionary perspective, this payoff is so huge that you have all the corresponding reward mechanism hardwired into your brain, like dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, all of the pleasurable chemicals to incentivize you to take advantage of these opportunities. So you see, your brain is programmed to take notice of promiscuous women and promiscuous behavior because evolution has positively selected for you to always keep an eye out for this kind of opportunity. Men who didn't have the instinct to take advantage of these opportunities were less likely to reproduce, and men who had this instinct were more likely to reproduce. They had more children. This is why we have a world filled with sex-obsessed men. We think about sex all the time, Men who were not sex obsessed were less likely to reproduce. So anybody who is genuinely asexual, they quickly get bred out of the gene pool because they didn't have that strong reproductive instinct. So there's nothing to be ashamed of for taking notice of these opportunities or even having a certain level of attraction towards promiscuous women. That's completely normal. Your brain is hardwired to take notice of that. But I am not saying that you should act on it. There's biology and there's morality. Whether you want to be a slave to your biology, that's a topic for another day. So, we talk a lot about men's reproductive instinct in this video, but do you want to know women's reproductive instinct? Check out this video here. Until next time, stay curious.